Okay, thanks everyone for being here and everyone who's watching back as well. This is our BAME Students Election Workshop. So feel free to use the comments box for any questions and we'll have a chance to do a little Q&A at the end. And also feel free to keep your camera off, whatever you're most comfortable with. We are recording. So what this session is about is we want to give you an overview of the elections, what it'll look like and what it will involve, and also let you know the new skills you could gain as student representatives. You'll also hear from our lovely BAME representatives at the moment, Fix and Simi, who will give us a little bit of insight as to being BAME officers. And as I said, there's a chance to ask questions for those of you who are here live. So why we're doing this session is that traditionally we know BAME students are often underrepresented in YUSU officer roles over the years. It's actually been over 10 years since we've had a BAME union president, and that's something we want to proactively address. We want more BAME students to know that these roles are for them, and not just the BAME officer role, we mean all roles. And we want a more diverse representative team because we know that a more diverse YUSU is a better YUSU for all. So to kick off, what are the elections all about? So we'll go through the basics of what this year's elections are going to involve. So for those of you who are new to elections, first off, elections are all about first stage being nomination. So if you want a role, you nominate yourself, and then you campaign to gain support for your ideas and your views, and then students vote, and that means those representatives that are voted through have a mandate to do that role because they are the voice of the students who voted for them. So the roles that we have in this year's elections, there's quite a lot of them. To start off with, we have the sabbatical roles. These are full-time officers who are full-time members of staff, so they are paid an annual salary for a one-year contract. They are the heads of the union, so they lead the political direction of the organisation. So the roles are union president, academic officer, student activities officer, York Sport president, and community and wellbeing officer. We also have the part-time officer roles, which are voluntary roles that students take up whilst doing their degree. These are liberation roles or coordination roles. So we have RAG and volunteering officers who run the coordination of those activities. We have environment and ethics that are a campaign network who run activities and campaign for environmental issues. And then we have our overall liberation and campaign groups, which represent different factions of students. So we've got BAME officer, disabled students officer, mature students officer, LGBTQ, women and non-binary, international, and working class. So these roles you take up alongside your degree, and you can run as a pair, as shown by Fix and Simi. So you can be, you can effectively job share. So if there's someone you know who you can run with your friend or meet other people and run with them. We also this year have non-officer roles up for election. So we have our sciences, social sciences and arts and humanities faculty rep roles. These are academic representatives of the students in your faculty. And then we have non-political roles, which are student trustee, of which there are 3 roles available, and the accountability and scrutiny chair. These 2 non-political roles are centered around governance, and they don't require a manifesto because you wouldn't be making particular change. It's more you'll be required to give a statement of why you want the role and what you would bring to it. So the timeline of this year's elections are slightly different from previous elections. So we're just going to go through what they are. So in week 5, nominations will open. This is where for 2 weeks you'll be able to submit your nomination online, closing on the 19th of February. And then we have development week, which is where anyone who's nominated, who then becomes a candidate, can receive training in the form of workshops and support from staff to prepare themselves ready for campaigning. So you have a week to get ready for that. And at that period as well, there's an opportunity to withdraw if you decide that you no longer want to run. Then we have the campaigning period, which starts on the 2nd of March and goes all the way through to the end of voting. So this is where you're trying to gather support from other students to show them your vision for the role so that they vote for you. And then voting begins at the end of week 8 and all the way through week 9, where you'll still be campaigning and students will be able to vote online. So what you'll need to nominate, so you can prepare this already if you're sure about running and know that this is what you'll be expected to submit. So first off, your manifesto. As I said, for the political roles, your manifesto is what you'll submit, and it's what is most important to you, what you want to change, and why you want to do the role. So this is the core of your nomination, and it's best to keep it simple. You've only got 500 words, and you'll need to start with 3 summary bullet points. So it's not a big essay, keep it simple, and they make the best manifestos. Secondly, you'll have a blurb box where you can put in a little intro to you, or perhaps your campaign slogan, but it's really short, only 100 characters. And thirdly, your photo. So this needs to be a quite specific photo. It needs to be an individual headshot with a plain background. Or if you're running as a pair for a PTO role, and you live together, it can be a shot of both of you, or you can send us in 2 individual headshots and we'll merge them for you. All these areas are what students will see when they come to vote. So this is what they'll be basing it on at the point of voting. There'll also be an eligibility form that you'll need to complete just to make sure that you're eligible for the role. And then we also encourage you to do our diversity form, which is completely optional, but it helps us to work on our access and participation work and run these kind of workshops in future by knowing our kind of diversity of candidates each year. So campaigning. During the campaigning phase this year, it will all be online. It's great fun. It's a chance to get your friends involved. They can help you. You don't have to do it all on your own, but it'll be all online. So that means no physical presence at all. So no posters, and hopefully that'll make things a lot easier because you can do all your campaigning from the warmth of your own home. So you don't have to be out there in the cold. So we support you throughout the process of elections. We do this in several ways. So there's specific staff contacts for each role. So you can get in contact with them and they can give you a bit more insight into what the role involves and what is and isn't feasible within the role, which can help you to develop your manifesto. We'll also have the Candidate Hub, which is a web page on our website, which will be going up in week 5. And this will have all kinds of resources and guides on there for you, including workshop recordings to help you campaign, help you develop your manifesto. And overall, if there's any questions you have about elections or support, then your main point of call is elections@yusu.org, and we're here and happy to help. So now Nick, our Student Voice and Insight Manager, is going to go through what skills you can gain as a candidate and an officer.
Brilliant, thanks, Laura. Do you want to nip to the first slide and I'll start from there? That's great. Okay, brilliant. So I think this year more than ever, we've sat down and had a think about some of the skills and personal development stuff that candidates, and then when you actually get elected to the role, that you can hone, and the new skills that you can develop. I think, especially people who are thinking about their employability and careers and applying for jobs and internships, some of these skills that I'll talk about, and both as a candidate in running in the election, just that process, and then doing the actual role, whether that's a SAB position or a PTO position, they provide really great examples for you to use in interviews and applications. So I think just having a few up your sleeve is going to be really great. So in terms of running in the elections, doing a manifesto and planning a manifesto, thinking about a campaign plan, and I'll maybe come to Fix and Simi a wee bit later to talk about theirs, but it is a really great example of being able to project plan. So, having to think about what you care about, what you want to change, what you want to do, and then forming a plan around that is something that you can definitely talk about in applications and interviews. And then also the ability to get stuck into some activism and thinking about ideas for change when you're running in the election and when you're thinking about influencing other students. And again, that's an example of influencing and developing those influencing skills and interpersonal skills, being able to communicate with different people about your ideas for change. And then it's going to be a wee bit different this year, obviously, with it being online exclusively, but there are still going to be opportunities for you to practice public speaking and hone some of those skills. And I think employers and other people are going to be particularly interested in students and potential candidates who can public speak online, because it's not that easy. It's a bit of a different skill, but it's something that we all need to develop and hone at the minute. So yeah, public speaking. And then as a candidate, you're also going to have to engage with diverse students using different methods as well, and that's going to be particularly important this year. How you engage students in a student body, and different students who are potentially quite tired of certain platforms and fatigued in a certain way. So again, that's a challenge and some communication skills that you can hone as a candidate. Again, you can mention those in applications and interviews. And then finally, it's mainly positive, I think, running an election and fun. Like Laura said, there's so many opportunities to connect with different people and make new friends and build that social capital as well. But there are going to be some challenges as well, hopefully not too many. So I think overcoming challenges and showing some resilience is another skill that you can build and develop whilst running in the election. Next slide, and I'll come to Fix and Simi here actually. So in terms of your experiences as officers, what's been the things that you've developed most, and what the kind of key perks in terms of personal development that you've picked up?
Yeah, I think it's been a rewarding role for me, because like I've learned a lot about myself. I've developed skills that I would not have if I didn't like go for this role. Like in terms of leading like a whole team, like that was extremely like difficult for me to do, and I think it's a humbling experience, because I used to be extremely shy. Like I didn't talk in public and stuff, but now like I can say I'm confident. Like I've talked to so many people about about this as well. And I think also like the multitasking, like you need to know how to like balance your schoolwork and your actual your position as well. So it's definitely like you need to learn. It's taught me how to manage stuff. Like I tell my friend all the time, like I am so good at multitasking. Like I can do so many things at the same time now, because of this role. And even if I don't do stuff, like I've mastered the skill of waffling and just saying things on the spot because of this. And yeah, in general, like it looks very good in applications as well. Like people are really impressed when you say, "Oh, you're the BAME officer at your uni and stuff." And in terms of connections, I've met so many people from all over the UK as well. Like I'm in group chat with loads of students from different unis other BAME officers and other equality officers as well. So connections I've got for that are really rewarding as well. And I've made a number of friends from different parts that I would not have if I hadn't stepped out of my little bubble as well. And yeah, just met different people and different levels of the university that I know that if I didn't get this position, I would not have ever experienced, because it's a whole different world.
Brilliant. No, that's great. Pretty inspirational, and from first-hand experience of some of your events as well. Just thinking back to the one just before Christmas and Black History Month, like that was amazing, and you know, so confident in the way you guys introduced it, and even the connections and high-level people who were there. That was brilliant. What about you, Simi?
I think also, just adding on to what Fixer said, I think even another perk, I guess, is when obviously you've written down your manifesto and then you're carrying out the things that you actually put in the manifesto, and it's like to see it, like you like do it, is really like rewarding, especially with Black History Month, like you were just saying. We said that we wanted to have guest speakers, and we said that we wanted it to be really engaging, and we were able to like often post on our Instagram like every week with different topics, and then even have the event with the guest speakers, even though it had to be online, which was sad, but it had quite a lot of engagement. And like our Being Black or Asian in York series in the summer was really important, and it gained a lot of like engagement, and loads of people followed us after that. So I think I guess carrying out the things on your manifesto is really another rewarding thing.
Yeah, no, and that's definitely, and I think I've probably missed off a few on here, but it was just kind of starting conversations with you guys, because I think your social media presence, especially on Instagram, I'm a big fan of you guys, and on the working class officers as well. So I think social media, building your capacity to use social media to change things and share ideas and events is a big thing.
Yeah, I think it's also like taught me a number of skills, like in terms of like graphic designing and just editing stuff, video software and stuff. Like I'd never like gone into that, but now like I actually enjoy graphic design and stuff. I'm like taking some courses on Photoshop and just video editing as well. So it's taught me skills as well. And social media engagement is something like right now I'm really like passionate about, because to see how the trends and what people like and what people engage with the most, like I've seen like, okay, people don't engage with just words alone, like you have to put some pictures in there or some videos, and that's what like most students do. And also it shows like most of our time has been online, so that's also been quite difficult for us as well. So it's like it's funny to see as well.
Yeah, I've been reading. I've got hopefully doing another one of these workshops on Wednesday around activism, and like finding your activist identity. But I've read a few things about clicktivism or you know, kind of activism online that's become particularly. Obviously, you guys are great exponents of it, but it's become particularly important during COVID. But also, at certain key points, hasn't it? So George Floyd and Black Lives Matter. You know, all those movements have largely been, and I'll talk about on Wednesday, around students and young people leading that change, but also the ability to influence and hit so many people with hard messages online and to mobilize is like you know, you have to be able to do that to make change in the current world, don't you? So that's great. So yeah, I mean, we've touched upon most of them, but I'll just go through some. So I think being a SAB and a PTO is a really, you know, it's a great opportunity to lead that change, like you talked about, and to lead on campaigns and influence specific change. You know, for example, on racial inequalities in the university, and I think you guys have done a great job at that. And then, like you touched upon, Fix, diverse relationships with people, and what we haven't put on here is building networks, because you know, ex-SABs and PTOs like yourselves have been able to form loads of networks and then go on and get great jobs, or you know, it's aided their development in the future once they've left YUSU and the university. So that experience of talking to academics and being in different meetings, meeting really senior people at the university, and working with external organisations is something you can pick up as an officer at YUSU. And project management, which I think is quite a difficult thing to sometimes explain in applications and interviews, you know, how you can demonstrate using an example of that. But I think the work you guys have done on, you know, planning an event, for example, you know, big event for Black History Month, and the work that the SABs do. They have to engage with, you know, we've got a budget for this, you know, we've got a timeline, we know when we want to do things, we want to make certain changes, and you have to put that into a plan and work out how to deliver that. So I think the experience of doing stuff like that as an officer is another great attribute to talk about in your applications and moving forward. And then multitasking, I think you touched upon that. I think that's definitely as an officer, and when you're still studying as well. Obviously, PTOs like yourselves are still studying. You know, at least SABs who are full-time employees at YUSU aren't still doing their degree, which you know, I have such respect for you guys having to do that. And you're meant to have a social life in between as well. So I think the capacity to juggle competing demands is definitely a skill that you can hone and develop as a part-time officer or full-time officer. And then resilience as well. I think, I'm assuming over the last year, not everything has gone properly straightforward for you. You've had to overcome some challenges and negotiate different areas of conflict or knockback. So I think you can definitely build that as an officer at YUSU in any leadership position, really, and as an activist as well. Okay, brilliant. Next, I think there's one more slide, isn't there? Great. Yeah. So it was just a plug for some of the other skills workshops, and we'll make sure we put these on social media and do a push next week, because I think they're not just for candidates, but really tying some of these personal development stuff and skills development into the elections is really important, especially at the current time. So there's a student activism workshop on Wednesday that I'll be doing, and then we've got an external person called Gemma, I think, isn't it, Laura, who's doing the introduction to leadership, so talking potential candidates and other students through some concepts relating to leadership. And then there's an introduction to professional communication as well, so some tips and strategies on how to communicate verbally and in a written way in different professional settings, which is really important for professional development as well. And then there'll be an introduction to resilience on next Wednesday, which will be split between a professional from the Open Door team, who's going to take students through some concepts and strategies, tips for managing stress and pressure during this difficult time, not just during the elections, but during COVID and when we're all just facing screens most hours in the day. I don't know about everyone else, but I go from my laptop to my phone, then to the telly. So we need ways of dealing with that and looking after ourselves a wee bit better. And then finally on Thursday, the 11th, there'll be a session on project management, which will help potential candidates and other students think about project management and ways they can plan their campaigns and projects.
Great, thanks, Nick. Now we're just going to have a little chance for Fix and Simi to share a bit more about how they find the role and if you have any advice for any BAME students wanting to get involved in the elections, or what you really think is important in BAME representation.
So you want to go first?
Yeah. I think that one thing that they can do really is, I hope that we have like a good handover first of all, so that we can give them like all the information, things that we've done, our manifesto, things that they can do, so that they can like continue the work that we've been doing. For example, like the diversifying and decolonizing the curriculum working group. I hope that they continue to work with them. And I guess what else? When working with their committee, I think at first it will be hard, definitely, because I don't know if they'll run as a pair or if the person will be by themselves. But I think just to remember that you're not the only one that's doing it alone or even with another person. And what else? That's all I can think of right now. Fix.
Yeah, I would say that she definitely, I really hope that the work we've done like in this short time has like someone actually carries it on, because obviously we started like a foundation, and I really hope that someone continues it with a good job as well. And like it's gone by so quickly that I didn't even realize that I had to email Laura to find out when we were done, because I thought it was like till like next summer. And I told all my committee members that yeah, we have time, I can do all these events, but it goes by really quickly that you wouldn't even realize. So yeah, definitely I would say that you should just from the day you get a handover, just start doing what you can do. Just join in and ask questions. Like there's some things I'm still trying to figure out about my role, like some things I don't know about, some acronyms I'm still trying to get used to as well. So it's quite useful, and I think it's a very rewarding position. And yeah, I'm thinking if anyone has questions, you can just drop in. I don't know what to say anymore.
But I think Laura and I both wish that we could keep you guys on till the summer as well. That would be great. Yeah.
I would have stayed, but like just want to focus on our degree. You know, like it's a quite a big role, I think. So it can be quite difficult and overwhelming sometimes. So I think like if like you should be very like organized with your schedule and your schoolwork and stuff, so you know like how to balance the roles and stuff. Because sometimes you just forget that you have a meeting and 5 minutes you just have to like hurry up and rush to your next meeting. So then like I know we didn't like achieve a lot of our goals and stuff, but I think we started a conversation at the university as well, and people are engaging. People know that there's a BAME, there's a BAME network, because I know when we started up, a lot of people didn't know. I didn't know there was a BAME network. So I think now that people know, you can start a conversation and people can start growing. Just a question.
Yeah, so we've got a question. What's another piece of advice you can give that you consider key to taking on the role?
I guess try and work with different people, like different societies, like a range of different societies, so that you can talk about different things, and then obviously promote the network even more. And when you have like big events, try and invite like guest speakers and things, so that not only will it bring more engagement, but it will be rewarding for you and your event. Yeah.
I think you shouldn't like overwork yourself. Like, don't put too much pressure on yourself, because sometimes it can get overwhelming. And the things that you know that you can handle, like, and I know this, I would never have thought that COVID would have like shut everything down for us. And there was some events we wanted to have in person that I think we only had one event in person during our whole time. So yeah, I think just don't put pressure on yourself. Like anything can happen in the world right now. So just try to stay motivated and just and need to learn how to shift with the times and just kind of adapt to situations, that especially when you're under pressure.
Yeah, just building on that as well, I suppose, I mean, I consider, because it's my frame of reference, but part-time officers like yourselves and officers as activists, and I think when you embroiled in trying to make change, it can be exhausting, so I think it's really good advice to invest in yourself a little bit, and your self-care when you're doing that, because you can often just focus on, we need to make change, we need to do this and that, and keep going. But I think it's a good aspect of activism is to be compassionate to yourself and take a step back from your phone and your laptop and do whatever you need to do to refresh in that period.
Yeah, like, and I would say like if you should just be very like there might be people who might come like at you sometimes, that who might disagree with what you have to say, but just like keep your head up and stay motivated and talk to your friends and families. And yeah, because at the end of the day, not everyone's going to like what you're going to do.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. That's where the sort of resilience side of things comes in, isn't it? Would you guys have any sort of advice for students who are thinking of running, BAME students who are thinking of running for sabbatical officer roles, like considering further leadership that you've seen in the uni?
I definitely would like to see like BAME students in SAB roles as well, because I haven't personally seen in my time here at York, and if I had more time, I probably would have kind of taken that position up or something. But yeah, and I would just encourage them that to keep going. Like, you can be the change, and like everyone at YUSU is so super helpful, and they would love for you to join the team as well. So ask questions and stuff, like feel comfortable, don't be shy as well. So just go for what you want to go for, and I know you'll make it out.
And also, if they like eventually, hopefully get elected, then I think many other people will follow, because I feel like one reason why some people don't apply for SAB roles maybe is because they're like, well, I haven't seen anyone that looks like me that has done it, so I don't know if I can do it. So I just don't want anyone to have that like mentality, but they should go and apply so that other people can follow suit. Yeah.
Yeah. I would just say as well that obviously it's really disappointing that we haven't had enough BAME representation in SAB positions, but actually within YUSU more widely, with your network and all the societies as well, there's definitely that groundswell of diversity that people can build on, and especially with YARC has become particularly prominent, hasn't it? And the Norman Ray Gallery as well. So I think even though we haven't had the representation within the SAB team, we've got it in different ways where people who apply to be SAB or might be SABs in the future can use that as a stepping stone and to make change and get on that way. So there's definitely positive things happening. It'd be great to have some candidates who apply this year for PTO and SAB roles as well.
Yeah, and just touching on what you said, Vix, about us being here to help, which thank you for saying, because yeah, we are, absolutely. So either as a SAB or a PTO, you're never in it alone. You have support staff, and of course also a committee if you're a PTO. So there's people there to help, and you won't be left on your own with it. Is there any other questions we've got from people who are here, or anything else you wanted to say? Any top tips for campaigning or anything, Simi and Fix?
I don't know. When we did our campaign, I guess we used like social media a lot. Like we did like a TikTok, and we went around and put our posters everywhere, and we had those little cards. So I think try and be like creative with your what do you call it, your campaigning process, and try and really use social media to your advantage.
Yeah, I'll say don't dance, like, because it can kind of haunt you in the future. But I think social media is really powerful tool, especially now. So like once the campaigning week is, once it's time to start campaigning, like utilize like social media, get your friends to help and support you, your department as well, like your group chats as well, and just get people to vote, because I know there's not a lot of engagement from students. And yeah.
Wonderful, thank you. So we'll probably wrap up there, guys. I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you so much, Vix and Simi, for coming and talking to us. I know that it'll be really inspirational to students wanting to run. And thank you to anyone coming along and anyone watching back as well. We hope it's helped. And if you have any other questions, please get in contact at elections@usu.org, and we'll support you through the process.